This is The Fifth Floor, and I'm Farna Kamidi. Can a radio show help save a farmer's livelihood?
My day starts at 05 a.m. and I always listen to the radio whilst I work. I go along with my radio to the fields.
This is Oliver. He's a farmer from Zambia. In 2024, the country experienced the worst drought in 30 years. Oliver has a few cows and a field where he grows maize. And he's been documenting his daily struggle to feed his animals and grow his crops.
Climate change is real and it's there. The effects of it is being felt by every Zambian and everyone in Africa. For instance, in the 2023-2024 farming season, it has been the worst situation we ever since I was born.
We can hear Oliver's story thanks to the BBC's international charity, BBC Media Action. Boyd Chibale is part of the team in Zambia, where he works with local radio stations to help people understand climate change and find ways to adapt. When I spoke to him, he told me more about Oliver.
Oliver is a farmer who is situated in Monze, in the southern part of the country, and he has also been involved in a lot of community work. But of late, he has concentrated more on cattle rearing and growing of vegetables on his piece of land. We worked with other NGOs to increase awareness of the climate change challenges. So we did mini documentaries and news reports with our media partners who are scattered all over the country. We came to know Oliver when we worked with a radio station in a southern province called Radio Chikuni. And Oliver was recruited as a citizen journalist or community journalist. And so in one of our activities, we were mandated to provide Oliver with a mobile phone and a voice recorder for him to document stuff on a daily basis. We ran him through a couple of sessions to teach him how to use this tool for him to be able to do his citizen journalism work effectively. And he has been doing a fantastic job.
So tell us about his experience and what does he show in his videos?
So in his videos, Oliver has been trying to document what he has been going through over the last few months, close to a year now. Zambia has experienced one of the worst droughts ever in a long time. And so Oliver has been trying to adapt his farming methods to make it more resilient and to ensure that his family has food.
Though we planted our crop very late due to drought, I've got high hopes that these plants we are planting, which are drought resistant, will help us to pull through this year.
So on a daily basis, Oliver would wake up in the morning and take a shot of himself, describing what the weather is like, what the situation is like, and what his animals are going through.
And Oliver is not the only person who is struggling. Even people in cities and urban areas are having to cope with this situation.
Yes, indeed. The drought has affected everyone, both the rural areas and urban areas. And ultimately, this has affected the generation of power. Zambia relies on hydroelectric power, which is generated largely from the southern province at the Kariba Dam. So a lot of businesses are affected, populations are affected, farmers are affected. I may say up to more than 80% of the populations in this country are largely affected by this. And this is increasingly becoming a concern because farmers are unable to produce, stores are unable to stock fresh products from the farms. And so families are unable to access these foods. And ultimately, there is an increase in food prices. So it's a whole chain of uncertainty and challenges.
So with the whole situation, Boyd, is hunger a big risk?
Sometime in March last year, the Republican president did declare a national disaster in terms of hunger. And more than 74 districts in the country were hit by hunger. And so we, as BBC Media Action Zambia, working with other partners, did kick in to try to see if we can help out with information that could help families become more resilient and find ways, of surviving by sending them to locations where government was providing relief food. Now, when we talk about the hunger situation, we're not just talking about human beings. We're also talking about animals. You know that Southern Province is home to more than 1.3 million animals in terms of cattle in this case. And so these animals are finding it very difficult to, walk long distances to find grazing land. Farmers who are cattle rearers are actually finding it very difficult to feed their animals because animal feed is expensive.
I assume that the rainy season has started. What is the situation like right now? Has it been raining? Is the situation any better than last year?
Yes, indeed. The amount of rainfall we are receiving in this season is far much better than we had in the previous season. And this gives a little bit of hope that the drought situation may not be as bad as it was in the last farming season. It looks like people may have something to eat after this rainy season. But it is not immediate because the harvesting period is definitely beyond March, April, May, June, somewhere there. That is when people would begin to harvest their crop.
So, Boyd, give us some solid examples of how this is affecting people's day-to-day lives. Like when you talk to people, what is going on in their lives and where is it hitting hard?
It's becoming very difficult. Right now, there's power rationing in the country where the power company is rationing electricity on a daily basis with the maximum number of hours being 4. In some cases, even less than 4 hours. And in some cases, some places are going for 2 to 3 days without electricity. And so this is making it very difficult for families to stock enough food in their fridges. It is making it very difficult for supermarkets to stock fresh foods in their stores. Now, you can think of places like orphanages, hospitals that have to struggle with this. And then you can also think about small businesses like hair salons, barber shops, who are struggling to keep their businesses afloat. This is all they have to, survive on. But if there is no power for 18 hours a day, then it simply means that they will not work, they will not make money. And in some cases, power is only coming late in the night. I mean, it comes at 1 in the morning, and by 5 in the morning, it is gone. Now, who wakes up at 5 or 1 in the morning to do, barbershop work or salon work? No one. Everyone is sleeping. So you find that it is increasing, levels of desperation and poverty, and the challenge of not knowing what tomorrow holds, just increasing daily.
It must have a devastating effect on the country's economy as well.
Oh, very much, because fuel prices in this country are revised on a monthly basis. And in most cases, it is an upward adjustment. The fuel prices have increased almost 100% from the time this current government came into power. Now, imagine if businesses are running on gensets, then it simply means that the cost of fuel is ever increasing, and it's very difficult to sustain that. A lot of people do not have solar power at the moment, though it is becoming common now that everyone is thinking to go the solar way. But imagine those small businesses, households on the countryside who cannot afford the cost of solar. The smallest, set of solar that can be used in a home, for instance, which is a 3 kV set, would cost something like $1,000. So people are finding it very, very difficult to raise $1,000 to pay for solar.
Tell me, how are the average people of Zambia coping with this situation right now?
It is basically living by hoping for the better tomorrow, because there's so much uncertainty. Of course, the power company has announced that the levels of water in the Kariba Dam are slowly increasing, but that is no guarantee that this is going to reduce on the load shedding in Zambia. So people still have got this challenge to live with. So at the moment, people are surviving on charcoal, which is increasing deforestation, and others surviving on gas stoves. But it is also expensive to have gas bought on a daily basis or weekly basis. So the challenge is quite huge. It is now clear that climate change is here to stay. And so people will need to begin to, rethink how do they survive tomorrow. So right now, everyone is in an adaptation mode. They have to buy solar panels and, inverters and batteries to keep energy flowing in their homes. And those who are surviving on charcoal are beginning to think, where else do we cut the trees from? And this is another environmental hazard.
And earlier we heard from Oliver, who's a farmer. Are you in touch with him? How is he doing? Was he able to rescue his crops?
We have been in constant touch with Oliver because what he is going through is representative of what many farmers are going through in the country.
Current harvesting our maize is a big effort we have made, and today it's going on market. Let me thank the radio station for the weather update they give us, and the weather programs, especially climate change weather activities.
He has confirmed with us that there's a slight improvement in his yield. He's also happy that his animals are grazing because of the consistent rainfall at the moment. So Oliver has all this time been relying on the radio to get weather updates. So is the community in his area. You will realize the fact that most of the rural areas in the country rely on community radio. That is their most reliable source of information. So radio is basically a darling to Oliver, and I think he will never separate with the radio.
Boyd Chibale from BBC Media Action. You can see a video of Oliver on the BBC World Service